welcome back to Books of Brandywine. So last night I finished reading As You Like It, which is one of his comedies, a romantic comedy, I guess you could say. I have never read it before, so this is my first time reading it, and I've never watched any of the movies, so I didn't know what the plot was going to be. As I was reading through it, I did realize that I had heard like some of the plot points in some other places, but I wasn't completely like up on what was going to happen. So this was a used version, and so the previous owner had all kinds of notes like written in it, like notes on the side, and her handwriting was really, really nice and neat and easy to read. So, and her notes pretty sparing, so her notes were like, they're on both sides, were like very helpful to me. And then she also left behind like pages of notes that were tucked into the front of the book. And those were in cursive, so they were a little bit harder to read. And so I did enjoy it. I think this version, the Signet Classic, isn't going to be one of my favorite versions of like different publishers of Shakespeare to read, simply because I really like having the summary of what's going to be happening in the act at the beginning of each act. Or I don't think it's at the beginning of each scene. I think it's at the beginning of each act, which Folger's Library has. But I did still enjoy it. It did have helpful notes on the bottoms of the pages. Like you can see the footnotes on the bottoms there. So those were still there. And if you're like me and you weren't familiar with what the plot of As You Like It is, it follows a bunch of main characters. So there is Rosalia. No, not Rosalia. That's a Pokemon. Rosalind and Celia, which are two of the main females in this play. They are first cousins. Rosalind's father was, I guess I don't need to hold this up, was the Duke, and he was usurped by his little brother, who is the father of Celia. And so when Duke Frederick, who's Celia's father, took over, he banished Duke Sr., who is the father of Rosalind, but he had Rosalind stay because Rosalind and Celia were first cousins, and he wanted them to become best friends. It sounds like they weren't best friends at the beginning when he had her stay, but now they're inseparable. They go everywhere together. They do everything together. Celia really, really loves Rosalind. Rosalind loves Celia, but she is still sad that her father has been banished, even though Celia feels like if she really, really, really loved her, she would be happy in that she has Celia and no longer need her father. But she loved her father too, and so she's sad that her father's gone. And then there's another family who was, let's see, what's the name of the dad? Sir Roland de Boys. And he's dead, but he had 3 sons. And his oldest son was named Oliver, his middle son is Jacques, and his youngest son is Orlando. And so Jacques is off at school. Oliver is in charge. Oliver hates Orlando. And Orlando just wants to go off and live his life. And so he has requested from Oliver that since he isn't going to take care of him, he isn't going to help him, he isn't going to send him to school like his brother Jacques, he's asked that he could just give him his part of the inheritance, and he will leave, and he will go and do his own thing, and Oliver will never have to see him again. But Oliver hates him so bad that he can't even stand the thought that Orlando will be somewhere else in the world. He just wants him dead. And so he spends, like at least twice, he tries to kill him. And so then there's also... so there's Duke Sr., who's been banished, so he's in the forest. He has a bunch of retainees and people that are following him. And then we mentioned the 2 girls. I'm looking at the character list in here. We mentioned the usurper, who is Duke Frederick. And I think those are pretty much the main characters. They meet more people once they get into the forest. So, Duke Frederick doesn't trust anyone, and so he decides that he is no longer going to trust Rosalind, and he banishes Rosalind, and Celia, because she loves Rosalind so much, decides that she's going to go with Rosalind into her banishment, and they decide they're going to go to Duke Sr., who is Rosalind's father, and they're going to live with him in the Forest of Arden, where he has been banished too. And so they leave. They decide that the journey is going to be really, really dangerous. So Rosalind dresses as a boy, and Celia pretends she's just a peasant, and they both change their names. So they leave to go to the forest. Meanwhile, Orlando is super, super strong. He gets into a wrestling match. It was kind of a violent wrestling match because Charles, who's the main wrestler, wrestles with 3 other guys, and he breaks their ribs, and it sounds like they're going to die, based on, like, the way they said it in the book. And then he fights Orlando, and Orlando beats him, and he can no longer talk. So I don't know if he's still going to live or not. And because Orlando is the son of Sir Roland, Duke Frederick also hated Sir Roland before Sir Roland dies. So he decides that even though Orlando is this great guy, he is not a good guy, and he doesn't trust him, and so he doesn't banish him, but he pretty much tells him, I don't like you. But Oliver was hoping that Charles would kill Orlando, so when Charles didn't manage to kill Orlando, Oliver planned to that night set Orlando's living quarters on fire and kill him that way. So Orlando leaves with one of the older servants, and they go to the forest as well. And Orlando has already met Rosalind, and he has fallen in love with Rosalind. And so they get to the forest. And up to this point, everything made sense to me. But when they get to the forest, Rosalind decides to stay in costume as a boy, even though she is safe in the forest, and she has met her father. Like, she interacts with her father in the forest, and doesn't tell him that she's his daughter, and continues to pretend that she is this boy. And so all kinds of stuff ensues just based on that one thing. And I don't understand it, because they never give a reason for why she has decided to stay as a boy. There's no logical reason for her to stay as a boy. Once she met up with her dad, she should have revealed who she was. She was no longer traveling. They were no longer in danger of getting robbed. So there was no reason for her to stay a boy. I don't know. I didn't understand that part. But the whole rest of the play is hinged on that. If she had revealed who she was at that time, the whole rest of the play would have gone different. So it is a romantic comedy. So there's some really, there's some funny parts, like comedians and stuff, and then, of course, there's the romance, the epic romance, which I didn't really understand that part either, but I don't want to, give away spoilers, so I'm not really going to go into that part, but there's just, a bunch of romantic stuff. I enjoyed it. I thought it was well written. I had fun reading it. It was a fast read. I only got confused on what was happening, a couple times, because there were so many characters. There's this whole list of characters right here. There's this whole list of characters right here. And so I was constantly having to refer back to that list to be like, okay, wait, who's talking? What's going on? What's going on? But I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty good. I would totally watch the play. I might watch the movie. It's been made into a few different movies. There was one that was made by, or I don't know who made it, but it was in the 1990s or something, I think. And it was set, where was it set? I don't remember where it was set. It was set somewhere that was cool and different. I don't know. I don't remember. And then there was one in 2006 that was set in 19th century Japan, I think they said. So I think it'd be interesting to see. I saw some cool Lego videos of it online on YouTube, and I think those would be cool to see. I haven't watched them yet, but I'm going to check them out. So the history of As You Like It. So As You Like It was based off of Thomas Lodge's pastoral romance Rosalind or Euphys's Golden Legacy, printed in 1590. And that novel, I'm pretty sure it was a novel, was based on a short narrative poem of the 14th century titled The Tale of Gamelin, which talks about Gamelin and his older brother. So Shakespeare almost directly copied the novel by Thomas Lodge. He did expand on some of the action scenes, and he did add a couple of characters, but he followed it pretty closely. And that is the one cool thing about this edition, is if you go to the back part, for almost, I'm gonna say 30 pages. So this, yeah. So this whole part right here, see how thick it is, are selections from Rosalind. And so they were selections from the novel. So you can read what happened in the novel and compare to how it is in the play. So you can see the similarities. So that was a really cool version of that. I don't know if the other the other publications of As You Like It, like in Folger's Library or any of Penguin or any of them. I don't know if they include that because I haven't checked. But for sure the Signet Classic version that came out in like, what, the 60s? Because this is 50 cents, so it has to be like the 60s. 1963. So the 1963 Signet Classic version has all those excerpts from the play. And then of course, from the book. And then of course there's, sorry, I'm blowing like old dust in my mouth. There are like commentaries and stuff on the play, essays and stuff included in here as well. One cool thing that I did like, I was looking up, just trying to find more information about As You Like It and about where like it was based on and stuff, and I came across the Royal Shakespeare Company website, and apparently they are performing As You Like It right now. And so I will put the schedule on one of these sides. One of these sides will get the schedule. But they are performing it through August, and then after August, I think for like a month or two in September and October, they're going to be doing a tour around England. And then actually in 3 days, on the 17th, I believe, they're going to be doing a live performance through the cinema. So you know how like you always see those commercials when you go to the movie theater and they're like showing how they're going to do the different plays and they're available for one night only. So it's that kind of thing. And so if you want to see As You Like It, like see their production of it, check that out. It looked modern, but it's in a modern setting, but the pictures and the stuff that they had on the website looked really, really cool. So and they had a trailer for it too. So I'm going to link their website down in the description, as well as Wikipedia's website, because I got a lot of information from Wikipedia. But like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good play. I had fun reading it. I would recommend it to other people. It's a very lighthearted, very fast romantic comedy. So if you're into that sort of thing, like I definitely suggest reading it, giving it a try. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.